Welcome to Doublespeak. I'm your host and producer Casey, and the team joining me today is Liam and Oscar weeding out the lies, and Daniel making them. Oh, and Amanda, my fellow mute fact checker. Here on Doublespeak, we play a little game. Daniel has a lot of random, useless and useful knowledge, so we're going to put his skills to the test. Each episode, Daniel becomes an expert on a new topic, which he explains to Liam and Oscar in as much detail as he can be bothered. They then guess whether he's telling the truth or not. Liam and Oscar get a point if they agree with each other and get it right. Otherwise, Daniel wins and gets the point.
Today, we're talking about, golly, I cannot speak Russian. Georgy Grozynski.
Okay.
He was a prince. So his full name is Prince Gregory.
Let's
I'm
call him
guessing
Greg.
it's written like the Russian equivalent of Alexander.
As in, like, that's what the symbol...
Alexandrovich, I think, ish. But again, I'm not the best with pronunciation.
Lay down some facts, bro.
Lay down the law.
Right. As you can tell, he was Russian. He was a Russian prince, and his family came from Georgia. I don't know where Georgia is in Russia, but it is up there. And he was a very rich person. His family was quite influential. And he was born on the 2nd of November, 1762. God, why do we pick one with so many interesting words? There's a name, and it's got a Z and an H after an I. I don't even know what sound that makes.
Probably ch. More like a CH in English.
Yeah. Yeah, a ch would make sense.
If anyone in Russia is listening to this right now or understands Russian, I apologize on everyone's behalf.
So he was a landowner. He was a landlord, like many sort of royalty, right? You know, like the feudal system of owning land and royalty being sort of like somewhat connected. And he was very infamous for kind of being a bit of a strict landlord, strict landowner. But because of how influential he was and how much land he owned, he fought Napoleon using a local militia. So he gathered up people that lived on his land, armed them, trained them, and got them to fight Napoleon, which is actually pretty interesting. So he was considered a Tsar. You guys know what a Tsar is?
Tsar is like a prince king kind of thing.
Yeah, I play Cards Against Humanity.
Like a ruler or a I think I don't know if it does or not, but I think the word Tsar has some sort of etymological association with Caesar and Kaiser. They seem like they have a very similar, sort of like same meaning-ish and similar sort of vibe of word.
Mm-hmm.
But he owned estates in Nizhny Novgorod and Moscow in Russia.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
When did he fight Napoleon?
When Napoleon tried to invade Russia.
Is there any specific battles that he was a part of? Or just in general?
I mean, just in general, yeah. There weren't really many specific battles with Napoleon's invasion of Russia. He kind of just marched towards Russia and then didn't do well.
I'm going to go there. Never mind.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
happened to the
Russia.
Germans.
That was after.
Yeah, well, they didn't learn from Napoleon's mistakes, so...
Do you think they were going to listen to the French?
True.
There was a whole line between them, my guy. They weren't talking at that time.
That is true. When you when you mentioned that his parents were from Georgia, is it Georgia in Russia or Georgia the country Georgia? Because I know they also speak Russian in Georgia, the country.
Georgia the country.
Okay, so that's down a bit more south than Russia.
Yes, yeah. Although, Georgia, I don't know if Georgia is still a country.
Yeah, it is still a country.
It is? Yeah. So it's They speak a similar language. Do they? Is one of their official language Russian?
Yeah, but they were an ex-Soviet country. And then obviously post-Soviet, they've all become independent countries and Georgia has become itself. But they spoke Russian.
Yeah. Their official language is Gregorian.
Ah, Gregorian.
Yeah.
I do know that Russian is spoken there as well.
Which is similar to Arabic.
Well, I guess actually, considering the area they're in.
Well, yeah, it's above Turkey-ish on like the corner.
Oh
yeah.
Which would have had Arabic kind of origins and etymology and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
A
lot of Europe has Arabic influences in their languages. Like Spanish has a lot of Arabic influences because
True.
it was occupied by them for a very long time.
Yeah.
Which
So
is
greedy.
also a key cause of the differences between Galician and Spanish is because
So
Portuguese and Spanish is because Portugal wasn't occupied. But
so
Spain was.
greedy Gregory. When
Yes,
did he die?
1852.
And when did he fight Napoleon?
Napoleon invaded in 1812.
So he got like 90 years old. He had a good running life then.
Yeah, he was 89. He was very,
89,
he was
yeah.
rather old for like that era.
Yeah.
Because it
he
was
lived for
from
quite a while.
17. What did you say? 17 something?
1762. 2nd of November,
1762.
1762.
And got to
Damn.
1861.
Yeah. He lived for quite a while.
Yeah, he did well.
Yeah, so his militia contained 12,440 people, and fought under a different general, of course. He headed the militia, but that was mostly because he was like controller of the area that they were in, like how a king would control an army or a prime minister would control an army, but they don't command it. And they fought against Napoleon's army until the fall of Paris in 1814, which was 2 years after Napoleon's invasion of Russia in 1812. And then after that, he just kind of chilled. He didn't really do too much. He had a couple kids.
Wait, did he chill like the French or just hang out?
Chill as in he just kind of stayed there.
Okay.
So,
okay.
so he was a prince, right? Part of the royal family kind of thing?
Well,
Which
that's
one?
kind of difficult because he was a Tsar and his title is prince, but that doesn't mean he was necessarily related to the Russian royal family, right?
So I was going to say, did he ever
He
get
was
to ascend to the
a
throne?
Gregorian royal rather than a Russian royal. But whether you're like the Queen of England is still a queen in any other country.
Yeah.
So it just kind of continues over wherever he went.
Okay.
But because he was a prince, that was how he got so much power and so much control over so many other places.
So did he ever like reach, if he was a prince or in Georgia in the as a Gregorian prince or in Gregorian royal family, did like when his parents passed away, did he claim throne or is there no mention of him claiming throne?
Is there siblings involved?
Well, again, another thing with that, he was a Tsar. So he rules somewhere, right? But he's not a king.
True.
So prince is more the English term for it.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
Like there's multiple
So
Tsars
it's like
around
being like a
Georgia.
duke, just
It's
owning
like
land.
being a prince. But you aren't king. There's one king. There will have been a like king of Georgia, right? And he would have been a prince in a royal family or in the royal family of Georgia. And do keep in mind, there's many princes. Like Prince Andrew, right? Prince Andrew is probably never going to be king, but he's still a prince.
No.
He's still really powerful.
Yeah, true.
Prince Andrew just hanging around.
Prince Andrew was yikes, but we won't get into that.
That's for another podcast.
So
next episode.
Despite being powerful, and I mentioned before, he was a bit of a tight grip on his area. He was taken to court about it. He was found guilty of cruel treatment of his peasants and other various sort of schemes.
That sounds cool, just calling them peasants in legal terms.
Well, yeah.
That's what they were back in the day.
I'm not sure, like, who, got him to court. He faked his death and staged a funeral by bribing a bunch of people and then disappeared for a while until someone else pointed out that he's still alive.
Pretty sick.
Nothing much happened to him after that.
That seems a bit anticlimactic. This guy pretends to be dead, bribes a whole bunch of people, and then someone points at him and goes, "Hey, he's still alive." And by the sounds of it, everyone just went, "Okay."
Yeah, he was appointed to a court of conscience, but he resigned in 1804. Was re-elected later on, and served until he was succeeded for disregard of Russian laws. The man was like a bit of a very modern day sort of capitalist from the sounds of it. Similar sort of vibe, minor disregard of laws pretty consistently, but getting away with no actual punishment.
I mean, to be honest, he sounds completely plausible.
Capitalism before communism. Interesting.
Maybe that's why they charged him for going against Russian rules.
Wasn't Communist Manifesto written after him, though?
It's still a
Communism
very
came
Russian
like
thing.
quite a while afterwards.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, like the concept of communism's
Well, yeah.
It's an
was
everyday
around
life
for
and all
quite
that.
a while. Yeah,
Yeah.
because like I give you banana, you give me money for banana.
Or more like,
I
I
give
ask
you
you to
banana
pass the
for
salt at
rock.
the table, and you don't charge me for it.
Yeah, but yes, communism came quite a while after 1762.
Yeah, of course.
Well, did you guys know that communism was invented in England?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
Really?
they wrote
Like
it, the
the
Communist Manifesto was written in England.
By
London, I
who?
believe.
Yeah,
by just some
Karl Marx
Joe
and
blogs?
Frederick Engels.
Oh yeah, I knew it was by Karl Marx, but I didn't realize he was an English bloke. Haven't-
Funny how the industry of treating your peasants as the word describes peasants will do.
Oh yeah, it's like I can't remember the exact name of it, but it's not good to be seen as a cruel king. You know, eventually the peasants will get their way.
And yet in legal terms they go, you are being sentenced for harming your peasants. And the peasants go, thank you, and they say, silence, peasants. You are
Yeah.
peasants.
You don't have a say in this.
We are just saying that you are peasants that have been treated poorly. You peasants.
Well, although they're peasants, they have a reasonable amount of power because they wouldn't be farmers if they were peasants.
Yeah, they have it in numbers.
Mm.
Plentiful peasants working for greedy Gregory.
Yeah, we'll call him Greedy Greg.
You greedy Greg. Then what do you think?
Honestly, I think he sounds like an absolute lad. I'd like to be his friend, and I think he's real.
Liam thinks I'm telling the truth.
Yeah.
Oscar.
Liam also thinks he'd be the friend of a man who treats people lower than middle class like trash.
Yeah.
If I'm his friend, I'm not gonna be treated like trash.
Yeah.
Pretty sure he also didn't understand English.
Hey, more communication barrier. Let's go.
I guess it's just the wanting of more in me, that the fact that so much happened after Napoleon that was just nothing. I don't think he's real.
Interesting. So we've got a 50-50 split.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, why do you think he's real? Why do you think he's real, Liam?
Okay. I mean, of course, Daniel's just believable in general, and that could be a downside to my argument. But I genuinely think the possibility of a cruel landowner in Russia back then is very plausible. That happened all the time across the world. Fighting against Napoleon, I mean, raising an army of peasants, it's been done in America in the American Revolution. So why can't it be done against France in the Russian War? Faking your own death as a person of high status, nothing unusual there. Kind of adds to the cool factor. I mean, there's plenty of people with much less plausible life stories than this man right here. Unless Daniel is just that good at faking it by trying to pretend to read all these big Russian words that he's never heard of before and all that stuff.
It's just Casey keyboard mashing.
Yeah, just like Casey feeding him all these random stuff. You know, I genuinely feel that she's just given him like a couple Wikipedia links and some different pages to go look at about this dude. So that's my argument. I feel it's a plausible enough life that the man had to live, especially in Russia at that time.
Okay. I honestly think it's the Napoleon part that's throwing me off a little bit, and I don't know why.
Just because, what part of the Napoleon part?
Even though going up against Napoleon in Russia would have actually been quite easy because he defeated himself for you. After doing that and then having so little happen to him, with him being charged for cruelty with the peasants, that makes sense because he would have been cruel. But then essentially no one caring that he faked his death seems, I don't know. It's the 1800s. I would have expected him to at least have been stabbed or something. That sounds really violent. I don't play Assassin's Creed.
I think to argue your Napoleon point, I guess when people say like, oh, the Russians versus Napoleon, well, Napoleon wasn't necessarily out there on the front lines charging into people. You know, he was the leader of France, and he was the leader of the French.
Emperor.
Yeah, he was the emperor or king or whatever title he held. Little short man he was. Actually, he was average height for the time. But he's not going to be out in the battles fighting himself. It'll just be some division of his army that are fighting this Russian man, his army.
I know, but
and for a Russian, they take pride in fighting for themselves. So he probably would have gone out there and stood at the back of the lines and yelled at his men, but he would have been nearby.
my thing on it is we know Napoleon for his defeats, but at the time people knew Napoleon for his victory. He actually conquered quite a bit of the European divisions and countries. So to defeat Napoleon would have actually been quite a good thing.
True, but I guess Germany was doing very well in World War II, and
This is
then they went to
1800s.
Russia. No, I'm just
Okay.
saying that you do very well in Europe, but then you go to Russia, and it's a bad idea. No one goes to Russia for a reason.
You either
don't
born
win in Russia.
You don't go to Russia to do anything. You're born in Russia, and that's the only way you survive. The country takes pity on you because you
Yeah.
started there.
You're either born Gopnik, you can't become Gopnik. You must be born.
You must be born Gopnik. Okay. No, I still think it's false. If I'm in all honesty.
I don't know.
So
Like
you
I know,
guys can't come to a.
I don't know. Like Daniel's a very good shit talker, but
Oh, cheers.
I feel like this
Good
one
enough to have a podcast about it.
exactly. There's a reason you're here, Daniel. This is your
Welcome to the
job.
Daniel Show.
If you guys like thoroughly disagree, I can give you the answer, but then I get points. That considers a win for me. The only way I can lose is if you both thoroughly agree and get it right. If you both disagree, then I get a point.
Well, I'm sorry, Liam. I'm not budging. I think it's a lie.
I feel like I'm the one closer to budging. Like I'm kind of like just slightly on the true side of the fence. Oscar's definitely sitting in the like nope. And I feel like if we don't
Like,
come to
I
a
could be
conclusion-
100% wrong, but just I'm sticking to my guns on this one. I
Oscar?
don't know why.
I have faith in you.
That's a mistake.
It is. And if we lose points, I'm fully blaming you.
That's completely
'Cause-
fair. I'm blaming myself if I lose the points on this, but
Cool.
something
Right, we are
something
going
about me just
false.
says this is false, and I don't know why.
We
So
are hitting
you're
false.
both siding with false?
Both
Yep.
siding false.
I'm telling the truth.
Fuck!
But I knew it. I knew it.
God!
There just seemed to be a hint of truth to this story, my guy. And I was
Oh,
like, no,
yeah.
no, no. Georgi Gruzinski, my guy.
Greedy Gregory's real. Holy damn.
Привет
Great
to
figure.
you.
Yeah,
Nah, I just-
stuff
I just
did
knew it.
happen after Napoleon.
Okay.
He did a bunch of like it was just very very bigoted against peasants, etc. Did a lot of stuff with charity and just doing like old retired people stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
managing their estate.
yeah,
Right. Georgi Gruzinski. Or it'd be more Georgi
Georgi, yeah.
Gruzinski.
Georgi.
Georgi, yeah. That's one to look up. He
Yeah.
seems to like have a really interesting life. And I mean there's people with less plausible lives out, but
Yeah.
still
it was a really
interesting.
good first one to pick because it's both like generic enough that it could be made up, but it's also plausible enough that like it definitely did happen. It did exist of a like upper class Russian royal or Gregorian royal.
Yeah.